I'm just so grateful that when I finally could give God all the pain and the anguish that I had been carrying, and know I can leave it in His hands and I don't have to take it back home with me. I'm Amanda Gogel. On February 26, 2005, I was hit by a drunk driver on my side of the car. We were on our way to our baby shower when it happened. So a day that was supposed to be filled with good memories and fun with friends, and it was anything but. Just to give you a little bit of context of how bad it was, it took 5 months for the glass that was inside my ear to come to the surface. 2 men helped my husband pull me out because my car was catching on fire where my feet were. What I do remember about being in the hospital my first few days, I was there 11 days. He told me, Mrs. Gogel, at least you and your baby should have died that day. Like, I should have gone to the morgue. I should have not have gone to the emergency room. In fact, I was knocked out and my husband thought I was dead. I have a rod and 4 screws that they put my leg back together with after the accident. I learned to walk again. I couldn't carry my baby once I had him because I didn't trust my leg to hold me up, not to mention hold him up too. So I just had to let other people do that for me. As far as forgiving the drunk driver, I would forgive him until I got another bill in the mail from the hospital, or I would forgive him until I had another really bad day where my broken leg would hurt to the point that I couldn't walk. Sometime after I came home from the hospital, after the accident, I had a dream that I was back in the hospital and it was nighttime and Jesus came to visit me. I didn't see His face, but I just knew it was Him. And He sat at the foot of my hospital bed and He said, Amanda, do you trust me? I said, yes, Lord, I trust you. He goes, do you trust me with your life? I said, yes, Lord, I trust you with my life. He goes, do you trust me with your baby's life? And I couldn't answer Him. And I woke up. One day, I just decided I was having some hard things in my life, and I knew I needed to be in the house of the Lord. And I had seen on Facebook that the Refuge was offering what I thought was just revival services, which that was fine. Revival services are good. So I thought, I'll go and just see what there is. And I didn't know it was an emergency service until closer to that day. Just as soon as the music began to play, I didn't have the ability to sing. It was so not like me. Usually I would participate, but the presence of the Lord was already so heavy that I just thought, I'm just going to stand here and I'm going to enjoy it and just let God do what only He can do. And I cried through probably 95% of the service, and the preaching, I cried through that too, because it was just so meaningful to me. But a lot of it was centered around forgiveness, and I started to realize that parts of my life that I thought I had already dealt with, forgiving everybody and everything that I should have forgiven, that I really hadn't. The people that told me I would never walk without pain, the doctors that didn't believe me that, things weren't working the way that they should have. I couldn't climb stairs. They wouldn't send me to physical therapy until my leg healed a year later. And it was just little things that I had let build up and build up and build up around that accident that I didn't realize it was taking over my mind, that I just had not forgiven all of those people. But when I decided to get in the water, I thought, well, it can't hurt anything. So I went, my friend went with me, and I was told that, maybe I needed to forgive God. And that hit me, because I thought, oh my goodness, of anyone in the whole wide world, how can I hold something against God? But I realized in my mind, he could have prevented the accident. He could have kept me from being hurt. But for whatever reason, he didn't. He let me go through that. And the lessons I've learned are invaluable to me. Would I go through that again? No, I wouldn't want to. But the love I felt from the Father when I was in the water was nothing I could have imagined. I just felt like even in the worship service, like God was singing to me when I couldn't sing back to him. And that he was holding me in the water. And I don't know who it was, but somebody was squeezing me this way. And it felt like that was God just pushing me in. And like all the cracks were filled in when he pushed me. And like he had super glue and was just gluing me all back together. And I felt whole for the first time in a long, long time. I'm just so grateful that when I finally could give God all the pain and the anguish that I had been carrying, and know I can leave it in his hands and I don't have to take it back home with me. And it didn't come back home with me. It got left in the water. It's a wonder the water wasn't dirty when I got out, because I left so much in the pool that I felt light, like I could breathe again. But one thing I found that I struggled with was over-preparing for everything, because when the accident happened, I hadn't set up my baby's nursery yet. So I had to rely on other people to do that for me, and that was heartbreaking. So after that happened, I would overthink everything and I would overplan, and nobody was going to catch me off guard because I was always going to be prepared for everything. And what's kind of funny was after I got out of the water, I just walked right past my shoes and left them by the water. Like, well, I got them back eventually, but I thought, Lord, that's what it felt like. I just walked away from everything that was weighing me down. And so when I actually went to be immersed a second time. I left my shoes at home. I'm like, my flip-flops, I don't need them. I don't have to be over-prepared for everything. I can let God provide what I need when I need it. But I feel like after I was in the water the first time, that God touched this side of my head, because I had an insurance paper at home before when I went to the water the first time, and I could not understand what they wanted me to do for anything to fill out this paper. A few days after I had been at the first immersion service, I went back and I read that paper again, and I knew what I needed to do. And I could actually read and comprehend and carry out what I needed to do. And I hadn't been able to do that before. He's still dealing with me on different people throughout my life that I need to forgive. I had a long list of people, and it's as I'm forgiving them, God's taking his red pen and just marking them off one by one. And there's so much more room in my heart now. And I even thought, maybe if I just declutter my house, maybe I'll feel better. And, maybe I won't have to deal with these problems that were in me anymore. But once I let God declutter my heart, it made all the difference in the world. There's peace in my heart now. There's love in my heart. There's forgiveness in my heart. But after the second service that I went to, I had to kind of talk through some things with God all throughout the night. And when I woke up the next morning, he gave me the verse that said, "Weeping may remain for a night, but joy comes in the morning." And that's how I felt. I was weepy the night before, but I was so joyful the next morning. He had replaced my sadness with gladness. And there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. If you just forgive, that's the key. Because we look the most like Jesus when we choose to forgive.